Hello and welcome back to my channel. Before we get into today's video, make sure to subscribe, like, and as usual, share your thoughts at the end of the video. Rapaport and his problematic content. Now, we have seen how he's been so supportive of Israel ever since the 7th of October. He condemns anyone who is against Israel, and he's been involving the black community a lot in all of this. I bet you wouldn't be surprised if I told you that this video is no different from the rest. In this video, Rapaport says that black people hate Jews. Like, really? As if that is not enough, he goes on to make it sound or seem as if Jews are so special from the rest. Now, according to him, he's on the right side of history, and anyone who supports Palestine is in the wrong side and is supporting terrorists. Check out this video. I will be right back, and when I do, we get to talk more about this video.
To all my Jewish friends, my Jewish brothers and sisters, stand tall. Stand tall. Do not let this fear, this sadness, this anxiety, and this dread overwhelm you. Draw strength from your family, from your friends, from your ancestors, and the worldwide bond that we share that has always put the battery in your back. We're used to being looked at as different because that's what we are. We are different, and that's a good thing. I know that Jews are looked at as weak, but we're stronger than you can imagine. That's why you hurl propaganda bullshit that we control all the money, we control the media, because it's plausible. It's plausible because we're just that good. Smart, compassionate, moral, and strong people. And we need to stand taller than ever against all those sick, dumb, uneducated black tar in their blood who hate Jews because they ain't. You hate us because you ain't us. It's always been hurled our way. Hate, prejudice has always been hurled our way. And a lot of times we deal with it with compassion or the understanding that it might be mental illness. That never again. Anyone saying to me, be on the right side of history, knowing what side I'm on, means you're on the wrong side of history. Which means you're on the side of terrorists, murderers, rapists who would burn and behead you and your family. They would love to burn and behead you and your family. There's only right or wrong right now. You either support a caring community or you support extremist terminators. Never again.
Now, it's funny how it involves black people in everything all the time. I mean, black people are not the only ones who are not supporting what Israel is doing to Palestinians. So why should black people be the only ones he is involving in all of this? Michael is just something else, but I know for sure you and I are not the only ones who are not finding what he is saying and how he keeps on involving us in all of this. This is annoying, but let's check out some of the speeches and hear what others had to say about his video.
You know, it's crazy to me how people are against ceasefire, because this would also mean that the violence that your people supposedly are going through would also stop. But I guess you don't give about them either. You know, Michael Rapaport was always a talentless dude who made his money off of the backs of black people in this country. Ain't nothing special about this dude. And the only thing he's shown the last couple of weeks is that he's just another white racist American. Because the fact that there's a lot of Jewish people and other white people that are also calling for a ceasefire, and this dude wants to zone in on women of color. Pay attention to that.
I am reading multiple books on Israel and Palestine, from Israel's perspective and Palestine's perspective, because the last thing I want to do for such a sensitive situation is flap my mouth like an idiot. Because you have this. This is what happens when you flap your mouth and become a zealot. You start sounding a lot like other strains of history, of supremacy, of people believing themselves to be superior, of people saying, oh, you want to be me. That level of arrogance amplified like this, as Michael Rapaport has done, is one step away from other things that have happened, notably in the 1930s. Choose your words carefully. All right?
Us. It's always been hurled our way. Hate.
Was that Israeli soldiers doing the Debka? A dance native to Palestinians, Iraqis, Jordanians, Lebanese people, and Syrians for thousands of years? Yup. Another piece of Arab culture, they literally plagiarized our entire national anthem and just changed the word Palestine to Israel. Like the same lyrics, the same beat, everything. This is a famous Israeli designer. Do those patterns look familiar? Oh yeah, where have I seen them before? Palestinian kufiyas. What a shock. Oh my God. Let us not forget the infamous Israeli hummus. A very simple Google search will show you that hummus originated in Syria. Another Arab country. Wow. So Michael, I think what you meant to say is Israelis have been trying to literally be Palestinians for the past 75 years. You f***ing dumpster fire.
Black tar in their blood.
I can't help but wonder what the hell Michael Rapaport is trying to say by black tar in their blood. It reminds me of a law that many states had in the United States of America in the 20th century called the one-drop rule, which basically stated that you were considered a black person if you had one black person in your family tree. It was at the foundation of racism in American society because black Americans were considered, black humans were considered to be evil simply based upon their genetics. That's it. That's the core of racism. And today we look at systemic racism and in policing and it's easy to dismiss and it's nuanced and complex. But old school racism, which dealt with calling people evil deep down inside their blood, it was easy to point out. I don't know why, that's not considered racist. And I know a lot of you guys are saying that he's talking about race. Well, here's the problem that I have with that. I am a veteran, and I've been to Middle Eastern countries, and I've fought terrorists. That's what we do in the U.S. military, whether directly or indirectly. During the global war on terror, that's what we did. And there was no point when I was fighting those very bad people that I thought they're genetically evil. They're evil in their blood. No, they're evil based on their actions and their behaviors and their choices to follow evil organizations like the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. But they weren't evil based on their genetics. They weren't black tar in their blood. Like, what the hell, man? Did you know Israelis, the Israeli people, 60% of them in a recent poll said that they wouldn't live in the same apartment building with someone of a darker skin tone and especially an Arab. That's today in 2023. Now, what would we call that if that was happening right here in America?
Black people hate Jews. It has actually reminded me of a podcast interview with Juliana Margulies. Now, during a podcast interview on the war between Israel and Hamas, actor Juliana Margulies asserted that black people should be completely supporting Israel, but have been brainwashed to hate Jews. Now, the claims that are just going viral were delivered on a November 21st episode of The Backroom with Andy Ostroy, a podcast described as a humorous and honest take on politics and pop culture. The conversation was on the war in the Gaza Strip, and Ostroy brought up the U.S. and the Holocaust, a 2022 documentary by Ken Burns. Now, Margulies, who is Jewish, bumped on it, and it should be mandatory watching, especially for the black community, if I may, because Hitler got his entire playbook from the Jim Crow South, she said. Now, she also said that Star of the Good Wife on CBS and Apple TVs, The Morning Show, added, the Nazis were watching how the Jim Crow South were treating slaves and said, oh, great call. Let's do that playbook. That's what we'll do to the Jews, which is also why in the civil rights movement, the Jews were the ones that walked side by side with the blacks to fight for their rights because they know. And now the black community isn't embracing us and saying we stand with you the way you stood with us. She added that Jewish allies got unallied for the cause of civil rights, but decades later, later as the Israel-Hamas war ramps up, Democratic voters, and especially, or specifically rather, black voters have been less empathetic about expressing support for Israelis versus Palestinians. Where is the history lesson in that? Who's teaching these kids? She asked, because the fact that the entire black community isn't standing with us, to me, says either they just don't know or they've been brainwashed to hate Jews. But when you've been marginalized so much as a community, the way I feel we have, isn't that when you stay there? Now, she added that this country would be in an uproar if bus drivers had walked out stranding about 900 area people from a Detroit area Jewish group who were trying to attend a march for Israel in Washington, D.C. last month. But because it happened to the Jews for some reason, it's laughable, she said. Now, all this just goes back to Michael Rapaport's video. I don't know where this thing is coming from, where they're saying that black people have been brainwashed to hate Jews. I don't think it's really being brainwashed, but it's actually seeing the truth. What is on the ground? Why are people against Israelis? People are starting to see the truth, and it's not about being brainwashed or something. It's about knowing the truth and knowing that this is how these people are. Now, after all the ranting and everything she said during that podcast, she apologized. And this is what she said: "I'm horrified by the fact that statements I made on recent podcasts offended the black community. I want to be 100% clear that racism, homophobia, and sexism on any prejudice against anyone's personal beliefs or identity are abhorrent to me. Throughout my career, I have worked tirelessly to combat hate of all kind and anti-Semitism, speak out against terrorist groups like Hamas, and forge a united front against discrimination. I did not intend for any words to sow further division, for which I'm sincerely apologetic." Which is funny if you ask me. Now, I also want us to look at something important which one of the people said in the stitches, which is one-drop rule. Historically, the one-drop rule was used to determine who was black in the United States, but currently, this rule is associated with antiquated ideology. In the past, the one-drop rule denoted that a single drop of African or black blood made a person black. Yet, despite the rule's seemingly scientific stance on racial definition, it had much more to do with discriminatory ideas and political motivations than it did with biological analysis. The one-drop rule, in fact, had nothing to do with science. It was a social rule. Under this rule, a person was either black or not black. So multiracial status did not matter. Ultimately, the rule was based on false theories of WS and racial purity. In all honesty, I don't think this is all about black people hating Jews or black people being brainwashed, but it's about starting to know the truth. Ever since the 7th of October, we have seen different people from different racial groups commenting about the Israel versus Palestine war. A lot of things have been revealed, and this has helped people know or identify who the real oppressed people are. From the propaganda and biasness which has been there in the way of reporting this war, people have come to know the truth even with the propaganda. So I don't see why Michael should say black people hate Jews just because they support the oppressed. What do you, my viewers, have to say about this? Kindly share your thoughts on this video in the comment section below. Thank you for watching.